G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, a huge story started to break during the week in the media in relation to former Prime Minister Scott Morrison setting up a sham cabinet committee, so he could, in effect, claim everything was confidential during that course of that committee. But there was only one member himself. And even Anthony Albanese asked Scott Morrison about it in 2020 and asked him, where do you have these meetings in your head? Because there's only one member. But Scott Morrison setting up that committee was one issue. But what's come to light during the week is there's been something like 700 meetings of that committee Scott Morrison had. So the question's got to be asked, why so many meetings? Well, without a doubt, what Scott Morrison was doing, anything he did which was dodgy or criminal, he'd just claim it was part of that committee, part of the Cabinet Office Policy Committee. And that way it would be protected for 20 years because you have a thing called cabinet confidentiality, which protects everything that goes to in cabinet. Any discussions, etc., any documents are protected for 20 years, and then they're released after 20 years, although sometimes they're protected for longer. So that is almost identical to what former President Donald Trump is doing in the US, where he is being accused or being investigated for stealing classified documents and taking them to his residence, Mar-a-Lago, in Florida. Now, Donald Trump is saying he declassified them, but he's saying he declassified them in his head. And he said that during the week in an interview with Fox News. So let's have a listen to the interview.
So let me ask you this question, because I think this is the next logical question, because the President of the United States, you, unlike, say, Hillary Clinton in her case, right, a president has the power to declassify.
Correct.
Okay. You had said on Truth Social a number of times you did declassify.
I did declassify, yes.
Okay. Is there a process? What was your process to declassify?
There doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it. You know, there's different people say different things, but as I understand, there doesn't have to be. If you're the President of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it, because you're sending it to Mar-a-Lago or to wherever you're sending it. And there doesn't have to be a process. There can be a process, but there doesn't have to be. You're the President. You make that decision. So when you send it, it's declassified. I declassified everything.
So you heard Donald Trump there saying he could declassify documents in his head. Well, former US prosecutor Glenn Kirshner has a YouTube channel where he's been following the Donald Trump issue closely and where he analyses it. So let's have a listen to what Glenn Kirshner had to say in relation to Donald Trump.
And friends, let's finish up with Donald Trump's fantasy world of declassification. You may have seen a clip from the interview. He told Sean Hannity, well, I can just think something is declassified and poof, it is. And then I can send those documents to Mar-a-Lago or to wherever. Boy, I sure would like to know what Donald Trump meant by I can send those documents to wherever. That's precisely why we need the FBI investigating this at light speed to see where Donald Trump sent them, who he showed them to, how he compromised our national security. And that investigation is now up and running again, full speed, thanks to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals overturning Judge Cannon's stop work order. So Donald Trump tells us that he can just imagine in his mind that things are declassified, and poof, they're declassified. Well, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals opinion had a little something to say about declassification as well. Plaintiff Trump suggests that he may have declassified these documents when he was president, but the record contains no evidence that any of these records were declassified. And the declassification argument is a red herring, because declassifying an official document would not change its content or render it personal. In other words, that wouldn't magically convert it into the personal property belonging to Donald Trump. They still belong to the government. They still belong to we the people. And whether he thought them declassified or not, he was still unlawfully concealing them at Mar-a-Lago. But let Donald Trump continue to talk about his magical thinking regarding declassification, because his every word is admissible evidence as a statement of a party opponent. When he says things like, maybe I declassified them magically in my mind, what is he actually communicating to us? And ultimately, when we introduce those statements at his trial to the jury, that he didn't declassify anything. Because if he did, every copy of the document would have to be stamped declassified. Every copy of the document, either hard copy or in electronic form in the government's possession, would have to be marked as declassified. None of that happened. And by Donald Trump saying, well, yeah, I thought magically that everything was declassified, so it was, what he's communicating is, I didn't actually declassify anything. And yes, those statements will come back to haunt him in a courtroom when we are trying this case to 12 citizens in a jury box, sitting as the conscience of the community, listening to all of the evidence of Donald Trump's guilt. And they will be persuaded beyond a reasonable doubt to hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes, because justice matters.
Now, this video predominantly deals with Donald Trump and what he has or hasn't said. The article I'll be publishing on my website, Kangaroo Court Australia, on the Sunday the 25th of September 2022 will go into a lot more detail in relation to Scott Morrison and his sham cabinet committee, policy committee he set up so he could classify documents as confidential for the next 20 years. And without a doubt, I have no doubt, it was to protect his criminal activity. Anytime he was going to commit a crime, he would say, oh, it's part of the cabinet committee. But like Anthony Albanese asked him in 2020 when he originally got busted setting it up, where does he have these meetings in his head? It was a cabinet of one person. So there's a lot more about this is going to come out in the next few days, next few weeks. It's going to be a huge story without a doubt, because it comes on top of Scott Morrison secretly appointing him to 5 cabinet positions, which he, without a doubt, as I said previously, used to conduct criminal activities. He's a fraudster and he's a thief, and he's been stealing from the government for years, when he's been Prime Minister at least, and previously when he was a Managing Director of Australian Tourism. He got busted stealing from there in one way or another. And he's been funneling a lot of the money into his mates' pockets via the tender process and the advisory services and the lobbying services his mates are involved in, such as Peter Costello, etc. Now, I'll be following this story up over the next few weeks. It's going to be huge, like I said. Scott Morrison's got a lot of explaining to do, and Anthony Albanese needs to be expanding the inquiry they're currently having into Scott Morrison and his dodgy ministerial appointments. They need to expand that a lot greater. They have a good look at exactly what Scott Morrison was up to, the fraud and theft he was up to. Now, my Patreon page, which I set up 5 weeks ago, is currently up to 167 supporters who have pledged $1,366 a month. Please support that. You can donate any amount, $3, $5, $7, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month. It all helps. Most people can afford $3 or $5 a month. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. And if you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, I'm going to have a lot more information on there tomorrow, Sunday the 25th. So make sure you visit that. And if you do visit, sign up for the free email subscription. And every time I publish a new article, you'll get an email letting you know there's an article there to be read. And if you do sign up, you'll get a confirmation email. Just click on that to confirm. Other than that, please share this on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Thank you for your time and have a good day.